Hey, Pastor Tommy here with this week's update and sermon teaser. And really, this week's update has more to do with news, really, national news. So on one hand, Samuel and I have conceded, right? We are writing candidacy for president of the United States, and vice president apparently went nowhere. On the other hand, Donald Trump has not conceded, and that is an important fact. Now, why do I say that? See, remember I told you last week in the update that we talked about public worship and how things were going to go, and after the presidential election, we might know how things were going to go, whether we would open up more, or whether we would shut down more, and it seems like things have even gotten worse. You see, because even though the media has declared Joe Biden to be the president-elect of the United States, President Trump hasn't conceded, and they're still counting ballots. That's not to make a defense for the president. That's more to deal with the reality of this is only going to keep going, and it's only going to keep worse. There's massive allegations of fraud. The Attorney General has actually sent investigators in. Georgia just announced before I came to film this that they're doing a full recount. So none of it is over. And so I'm only telling you that because it's 2020. Right? It's 2020, and I know if you're like me, you're thinking with each thing that happens, whew, maybe this could be over. Maybe this is going to be it. Maybe Joe Biden is just going to be president, whether you like it or not. At least we'll have someone nice. Or maybe Trump is going to be president. At least we'll have someone who does get something done. Whatever your background is, it's not over, and it could get worse, right? If President Trump and his team actually are victorious, if they actually end up winning the vote count, or they end up winning it in court, then, cities are going to burn. That's just a fact. We've learned that in 2020. On the other hand, if he doesn't win and Joe Biden wins, then cities are going to be locked down. That was one of the first things he said. And so pick your poison. Do you want to be burned down, or do you want to be locked down? Either way, you're down. And I hate to be a downer on top of all that. In USA Today today, there was a report that Washington State University entomologists just found a colony of murder hornets with 200 queens in it. How do you like that? Right? It just seems like it doesn't stop. Like, like we just constantly, every time you turn around, there's some more bad news. Judy came home last night from Bible study, and she heard me downstairs. I was laughing my head off. Why was I laughing my head off? It's because I sat there for the past hour watching Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. Now, why was I watching that? I don't know. I just happened upon it, and Wile E. Coyote reminded me of how I feel all the time. Just when you think it's going to be over, bam, the Acme anvil falls upon you. So what does that have to do with this week's sermon? It has everything to do with this week's sermon, because if you're watching this and you're a Christian, let me tell you something. All of your friends and neighbors around you who are not Christians, they feel the same way you do. And yet they don't have the same hope that you do. This week we're looking at Isaiah. If you remember, we've been going through the Jesus Storybook Bible, and last week we looked at the story of Naaman. And one of the important things about the context of Naaman is that Israel was just about at rock bottom. They hadn't gone into exile yet, but they were about to. And can you imagine being locked down, and you're in another country, and you're under the thumb of the government, and you're there because of your sin. Everything is horrible. Well, in that context comes Isaiah, right? Isaiah comes, and God gives him a message of hope for Israel, a message of comfort. So this week we're going to be looking at the book of Isaiah, specifically chapter 40, in which God tells Isaiah to comfort his people, right? So if you're feeling down, if you're feeling like you need some encouragement, if you feel like you need a word from God, I would encourage you to watch this week's sermon. Maybe gather your friends around, maybe share it with people, because this week is going to be a sermon specifically geared for those who feel down and there is just no way out. They are just disconsolate and feel like this is never going to end. This week is for you. Let me read to you the first page of this story in the Jesus Storybook Bible. So the title of the sermon this week is Operation No More Tears. And so it says this: do you know what your name means? Well, there was once a man called Isaiah, and his name meant God to the rescue. That might sound like a bit of a funny name to you, but it was just the right name for Isaiah because God had a special job for Isaiah. You see, Isaiah's job was to listen to God and then tell people what he heard. Now, God let Isaiah know a secret. God was going to mend this broken world. He showed Isaiah his secret rescue plan, Operation No More Tears. This is the message that God gave Isaiah. And it goes on. This week, we will be talking about God's mission, his Operation Rescue, but not just that he rescues us, but that he calls us to participate in the rescue of others. Think about that. I look forward to seeing you this weekend, virtually. Be praying for us. If you're a member of New Hope, we have a session meeting even tonight to talk about the future of worship and things like that publicly. So thanks a lot. Have a good week.